Greetings, my friend and earthly neighbor, and welcome to another week when I'm calling Fantastic February. Only this week, not so much. The sun moves into Pisces this week, calling for you to be more compassionate to yourself. So Sensei says, it'll be an easy week if you're easy on yourself. From my smartphone to yours, keep streaming for your weekly Namaste today. Welcome to Namaste Today, a compassionate way to start your day. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Sensei Christopher Witecki. Welcome back, dear friend. Namaste. We are on to the sun in Pisces, and that means it's time for your annual spiritual upgrade. That is, of course, if you pass the spiritual test. And what is the test, you might ask? Well, it has to do with self-compassion. The question is, can you be compassionate to yourself? Can you be non-judgmental? Can you let yourself off the hook for your past trespasses? If the answer is yes, Sensei says you are upgrading this week to a new spiritual story. If you're hard on yourself, you may end up holding yourself back. So in this week's show, we're going to talk about the bipolar up and down nature of the week entering into Pisces in our segment this week. And later in our tea time, I'm going to go into the depth of what I call the perfect stellium. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Monday, February 19th to Friday, February 23rd, 2018. Looking at your 5-day moodcast. Looking at the week at a glance, it's somewhat bipolar. Cloudy, sunny, cloudy, sunny, cloudy. Let's take a look. On Monday, it's cloudy with a chance of moodiness. A moon in Aries makes you impatient, and step 0 makes you a little vulnerable. On Tuesday, it's sunny and growing, and step 1 rules the day, but Black Lilith moves to step 11, putting your integrity into question. On Wednesday, it's cloudy and shifty. Step 2 rules the day, and a moon in Taurus makes you want casual comforts. On Thursday, it's sunny and learning. You're opening up again. Step 3 rules the day, and a moon in Taurus will cement it. And then on Friday, it's cloudy with a chance of severe irritability. Step 4 rules the day, and a moon in Gemini makes us all a little loony. Well, looking at this week, it's going to be a lot of ups and downs because we're clearing our karma. In our next segment, I'm going to talk about how it's time to upgrade your self-compassion. Taking a sneak peek at this upcoming week, I'm coining this week, upgrading self-compassion. Now, the truth is, we are going through a major spiritual upgrade. I say major because we already spent last year, 2017, turning our back on the story we were born to. So I would describe last year as a complete struggle year. A struggle year to stop some of these patterns from our karma and our subconscious memories. This would be our suffering, our pain, our self-sabotage, our extreme fears. All the heaviness, basically, the universe said, turn your back against the heaviness and towards the light in 2017. Now, I believe that's what most of us did. We turned our back to the darkness. A lot of it came up in the politics and the election, and there was a lot of negativity. But we turned our back, and we headed towards the future here in 2018. But we haven't made it to the light yet. Okay, we just turned our back to the dark. So this is the point, I think, where we begin to build our stairway to heaven, so to speak. When we started the year, we had to change with Capricorn the way we control things. And so all of our control, the way we controlled our life, the way we controlled our inner self, it was all based on that fear. It was all based on the karma we were born to. So everything we used as a control mechanism, manipulation, you name it, was because we were trying to overcome this karmic behavior that we were born to. So in Capricorn, we had to say, let go of that steering wheel, quit using those methods to control your life, and let's try these new methods. Then we went into February and Aquarius. And this Aquarius energy was now about changing our destination on the map. And that's really what I think Aquarius energy is in the big spectrum of things. It's our consciousness that knows where we are and where we want to go in this 3D space. And after we changed our control mechanisms, it was basically time to upgrade the map quest of our life and choose a new destination. Now we're in Pisces. And as we get to Pisces, what we realize is we are still carrying the burden of the karma. We're still carrying all this spiritual weight. We basically have said we want nothing to do with it, but we haven't forgiven and forgotten. We haven't let go of it. We haven't taken this burden off of our shoulders. And you may go, well, I am burden-free. Well, I think a lot of us wake up feeling great, and then through the day we start to apply the same self-judgment. We start to apply the same fears, the same issues. And by the end of the day, we're feeling the burden of our old weight. Even though we turned our back on it months ago, we keep bringing it back to the table. So I believe this week is about taking off that burden. And what it comes down to is upgrading your self-compassion. To be able to get to this place, you have to have more compassion and more mercy on yourself than you normally do. You have to let yourself off the hook. You have to let the guilt behind you. You will have to consciously try to leave it behind and focus on that moment, that Satori. So this week, I think it's up and down, because I think we're ready to let it go, and then it hits us again. And we're ready to let it go, and it's going to hit us again. And we're going to be ready again, and it's going to hit us again. And that's kind of the week of trying to get this thing off our back. We had a solar eclipse last week, which basically kind of empowered our spiritual journey that we want to make. So whatever you intend to attract in your life, whatever synergy energy you're going for, I believe you're going to get there. The question is, are you going to get good gas mileage or bad gas mileage because you were carrying so much weight on your way to the destination? And that means it comes down to being self-compassionate on a higher level than you have before. That's the strategy, really, as I look at it from a spiritual life coach. The practical strategy is you got to be more compassionate to yourself than you've ever been in your whole life. So this week, I want to kind of lay out the week for you as far as this upgrading self-compassion. And then in our tea time, I'm going to get deep for where each of the 12 signs is upgrading their self-compassion or letting off spiritual dead weight. And it will also apply, of course, to your rising sign. So Monday is a very moody day, okay? Like most of it is because it's a step 0 day and then it goes to step 1. So here in North America, we're getting 2-part days. In Europe right now, they're getting whole days, and that's the way we switch back and forth across the world. So in the United States, it's moodier when it's a 2-part day because you feel the energy shift. Lucky to the Europeans and Africa, actually. And on Monday, it's going to be about protecting yourself. That's the first thing. And really, what we have this week, and this is what I'm talking about in the tea time, is we have the perfect stellium, just like the perfect storm. Because we have this stellium of planets, and I'll get deeper on it, that basically is the ladder we are going to climb, or the stairway to heaven. It is, the planets have laid it out. And the epicenter of this climb is Neptune. Neptune is at step 13, Pisces. And step 13, if you've been studying with me, you know it's not just a superstition. It is a radioactive step number. It is a step number that's like a glowing power pellet in a video game, okay? Like, if you can achieve it correctly, you will bounce very high, way out where you want to go. If you don't, you will get knocked down to the ground and have to go back and start over again, so to speak. That's what it is. It's Uranus energy, it's Aquarius energy, it's breakthrough energy. So Neptune's at 13 saying, hey, I've got the portal open now to help you change your karma and go to the next dimension. Whatever that is for your story, whatever that is for your fate and karma. For those who aren't aware at this point, those will be the ones who don't get to go yet. And it's okay, no judgment. We'll be here next year, and Neptune will be higher up in Pisces, so we always get more chances. But for those who are ready now to ascend and get the F on with their story, okay, like, I think it's time for us to be very conscious, which means it's time for us to be very compassionate. So what happens this week is Venus will hit Neptune first, and then by the end of the week, Mercury will hit Neptune. Venus is what we open up to. So through the week, we're going to open up to this. We're going to go, okay, maybe I can evolve. Maybe it is possible. That's what opening up is. By the time our mind, Mercury, gets there on Sunday, we're going to be like, oh, okay, I got this. Or kind of like when we're riding a bike. Or, oh God, I'm not ready. Okay, like depending. So it is this is the up and down. This is the channel swimming of the week. First, to open up to our spiritual evolution, or more specifically, open up to greater self-compassion. and then to adopt that in our mind, which for most of us is where we live most of the time, in our mental state of awareness. So Monday is the first day. You're going to feel vulnerable. Venus actually is conjuncting Mercury. So what's interesting is Venus and Mercury start off very close to each other, then Venus speeds up ahead. And so Monday is going to be a moody day. You're going to see where you have issues. Basically, all the places you're not compassionate to yourself, it'll be very obvious on Monday. So I'm expecting people to be a-holes to themselves. Maybe others, depends on your personality on Monday. On Tuesday, sunny and growing. So I think on Tuesday you feel very strong. You wake up, it's a sunny day, your heart's ruling the day, the stellium's starting to form, which we'll talk more about it. And the moon moves from Aries to Taurus. I think part of the bitterness of Monday was that the moon was in Aries. But once the moon moves into Taurus, we actually start manifesting. So in a way you could say, as of Tuesday, the karma camera is rolling. Okay, so we are starting to manifest. Wednesday, it goes back to moody. Step 2 rules the day. We get very emotionally sensitive. Remember, the camera is running. And it's actually on Wednesday that Venus conjoins Neptune. So when we're feeling like shift, that's when the universe is like, hey, are you sure you don't want to upgrade your self-compassion? This would be a good time. So Venus hits Neptune on that day. Thursday, I then say, is sunny and learning. So after a hard Wednesday, we're happy again on Thursday. We're learning, we're growing. Oh gosh, I made it through that hard time. The moon is in Taurus, so the karma camera is rolling, okay, which means we're actually creating our life. And Mars is at step 16 Sag, which says that the story we were born to live now turns a new karmic chapter. So you'll start to see signs that you are graduating by Thursday. If you're doing it right, if you're being compassionate to yourself, if you're being kind to yourself. And then on Friday, it's cloudy and irritable. So as soon as you have that rainbow come out on Thursday, boom, you're hit with your first test, okay? And this test will be probably mental, because we start with step 4, then move to step 5, so it'll be your mind that you're having to get in control of. You'll probably be very irritable. The moon will be in Gemini, and so our thoughts and emotions start bouncing off of each other like crazy. So Friday's the first test of your new self-compassion upgrade. And it's okay if you fail the test, as long as you're aware that you failed. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing that's super important. And then on Sunday, we start to get it. On Saturday, we start to get it, excuse me. And then on Sunday, we finally come to some peace. And by Sunday, you should be clear on whether or not you are upgrading your spiritual story or not. And that's actually when Mercury will conjoin the Neptune, forgive me. So that's the week. It's up and down and up and down. But for each of the 12 signs, it gets very specific. So go steep yourself some tea, and let's have our weekly tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is the perfect stellium. And of course, I get that title from the idea of the perfect storm, right? So this, in my opinion, is just about the perfect stellium. And I say that because perfection in the sense of ascension. This is going to be a wonderful group of consciousness coming together in Pisces. And I believe this grouping of consciousness allows you to climb the stairway to heaven. And that means climb out of your hell. Okay, so you may not hit bliss, but you won't be bleeding anymore and you won't be in pain anymore. And that's huge, right? Like, how many of us can say that has lasted more than a month in our life? So the perfect stellium is composed, first of all, of Juno, okay? I always think to myself, and Juno was their name-o? I don't know why I always think that, but my inner child, whenever I hear Juno is basically where everything is just like a nursery rhyme. It is a consciousness of synergy energy. It was part of the solar eclipse last week that was helping you to kickstart your synergy energy with the universe. In your natal chart, it tells you the kind of relationship is perfect for you, the kind that you absolutely love, and it also tells you the sign you're most attracted to. But the caboose of this train is Juno. So think of Juno as carrying up, what follows after we go down this railroad track. It's ended with Juno. Then the next we have the sun. The sun is our heart. So our heart is just in front of this stellium train. And our heart, of course, is what is the king or queen in our life. And so if the heart or the sun is involved in a stellium, then the core, the core of your soul, your heart, the heart of the matter is included in the transformation. So the heart of the matter. And then we have Neptune. Now Neptune is your psychic antenna consciousness. So we have our synchronicity, our heart, our psychic intuition. So in other words, our spiritual motive. So Neptune knows what your spiritual story is. Neptune is a consciousness that connects to the Akashic record. Neptune is kind of like your spiritual map quest in the sense it's like, oh, Wateki, you're supposed to make a left turn here and not end up becoming, addicted to heroin. You know what I mean? Or whatever the thing is. It's like, oh, so whenever a lot of the things like addiction or things like that we were facing, those were lessons from our past life that we were reenacting to get us reminded of the fact that, oh yeah, I realized in that past life as a poet in France that heroin was bad and I shouldn't have done it and whatever. And so people have this moment when they realize, hey, this part of my spiritual story is over. And Neptune is like, oh, okay, well, the next thing on the docket is this. This is the next thing we kind of plan. And I do believe that we have, to some degree, a destiny in the sense of we have a bit of a plan when we come down. So what's cool about this perfect stellium is it's your synergy, energy, your heart, and your plan, what your spiritual plan is. And then at the very top of this, we have Chiron, which is basically where you are coming into integrity and where you are healing. And for everyone, Chiron this week moves from step 26 to step 27, which is huge because that means our healing moves from deciding that we can be healed to actually doing it. So Chiron's at the high vibration of Pisces, which kind of like sets the ceiling of what's possible. So a lot of times when we're caught in fear and we're caught in pain and we're caught in addictions and things like that, as I was saying earlier, when we're caught in that past life heavy stuff, we don't even know some things are possible because we're so locked in this crap. So what's interesting is as we decide to come out of the crap, we also at the same time are saying, oh, and that makes this possible. Like now we have higher possibilities. So long story short, this week might be rough, but as I've expressed here, we're going to leap out of the sorrow and the sadness, and we're going to raise the ceiling of what's possible. And the planets that actually do it are Venus and Mercury. So Venus is the part of your consciousness that's open to something. And this is a weird part of consciousness I talk a lot about with my subscribers on Serious Joy because it's one of those subtleties to mastering spirit that you have to be aware of. But you can totally think like some girl or guy is super hot. But when you actually get in front of them, you may not be open to telling them that. You may not be open to kissing them. You may not be open to asking them out. So our mind and our consciousness has all sorts of great ideas, but what you're actually open to, whole nother story, right? And that is ruled by what Venus is. So Venus is going to, from Love Fest Day last week, Venus is moving up forward through Pisces. And so what's happening is we are opening up to spiritual evolution through the week. So don't be surprised if you're not open to something on Monday and then you're open to it on Wednesday, literally, okay? And I say Wednesday because Venus conjoins Neptune, which means probably around Wednesday you're like, oh, I guess I could be open to not being an addict, or I guess I am open to the idea of being divorced. I guess I am open to the idea of being happy in my heart. I guess it's possible, sure. So just that alone is a big shift, and that happens on Wednesday. Then, as I mentioned, we continue opening up. Venus moves forward through the week, okay? And all the while, the moon is in Taurus. So the moon actually moves into Taurus and is in Taurus on Wednesday. So whenever the moon's in Taurus, that means you're emotionally going to manifest it as true. It's kind of like your soul saying, and so it is. So the timing is perfect to where this week, as you open it up, the universe slaps you on the back and says, and so it is. And so I can see how we're literally snake shedding off this old story through the week. And part of it comes from being open to it. The other part of the story comes from your mind and what you think. Okay, so, like I just said, you may think you're attracted to that boy or girl, but when you get up close to him or her, you may not be open to asking him out. You may not have whatever it takes inside of you. You're not ready. You don't feel safe, whatever the issue is. So, but the whole time is the mind told you to go over there and flirt with them. So was the mind leading you into something you wanted or not leading you into something you wanted? And that's a whole nother part of consciousness, is that our mind has this idea and has that idea and doesn't necessarily have the best intentions for thy heart. So as you are opening up to possibilities, you also have to change your thinking all week long. And I believe, okay, this has all been a lead-in, by the way. I believe that the changing of thinking needs to be self-compassionate. That's what I think the whole real relative pinch point in evolution this week is. You must be non-judgmental and self-compassionate every step of the way. If you are okay and non-judgmental, if you give no mind about it, every little thing that comes up, then you will basically pass to the next grade, pass to the next grade. If you complain, if you whine, if you criticize, if you put yourself down, if you put other people down, if you judge yourself, if you say to yourself, oh, you should be doing better than this by now, that is you failing, so to speak. Not forever, for this particular time. So being self-compassionate, in my opinion, is the key out of jail. Okay, it is the way out of your spiritual jail. It's always the case year-round for people that self-compassion is your way out of jail. But in this particular week, it really is. You will come out of your grief if you practice this. So, that said, I want to go through all 12 signs, and I think that you should also pay attention to your rising sign. For my Serious Joy subscribers, your A story and your B story, and in this case, your B story is going to be a little bit more powerful than your A story because this is a karma-changing, life-changing moment. And I know I've said that a lot lately, but that's where the planets are. Right now, the universe is shifting gears big time. So, and as always, I will show you here on this side with a graphic what sign I'm on. So if this is too long for you, then you can fast forward to what you want to watch or your loved ones. Okay, that said. Aries. Now, Aries, I think, through self-compassion this week, their self-compassion is having them come out of fear. So they are coming out of fear. They are coming out of all of their dark stuff. Okay, or at least what they know. I'm sure they'll bring more to the table later, but at this level. And where they're going to, once that Venus crosses Neptune and Mercury crosses Neptune, is they're going to intuitive faith. Now, what I mean by intuitive faith is that instead of being afraid, they're going to ask their intuition, is there a reason to be afraid? That's the next level of faith for you. The next level of faith is constantly asking your intuition, am I okay? Is everything okay? If your intuition says yes, then tell your mind to shut up. That's basically how I counsel this. So Aries go out of fears and into intuitive faith. And same with Aries risings in a big way. Taurus. Taurus are coming out of karmic social duty. Okay, so Tauruses have had past lives where they did wrong with their power. And so this whole last chapter for Tauruses was, oh, I owe the world because I was once a bad guy or girl. Okay, so basically Tauruses in Pisces need to completely be compassionate. You don't owe the world anything. You're fine. You're not going to judge yourself. You're not going to judge yourself in the world whatsoever. And this is a whole way of living that Tauruses are letting go of now. And by doing this, you move into where you are intuitively called. So Tauruses, your duty is that you don't owe anyone anything. You are only supposed to go to where you are intuitively called. So if the cow is interested intuitively in this corner of the pasture, go to that corner. That is your new spiritual connection to society, okay? You owe them nothing. It's about intuitive calling. Geminis. Geminis are kind of like Tauruses. They had career karma. In other words, they had where they had never had a career in a past life and they felt guilty, or they had a career and they took advantage. So Geminis have been healing their career karma. That's also parenting, by the way, whether it's parenting children or parenting animals. But they were healing that they had misused their power in a past life, basically. And so it's time to let go of your career karma. You owe nobody nothing except yourself. And what you move into now is intuitive decision-making. So a lot of reasons why Geminis are thinking so much is because they're trying not to fall into the same karma. They don't want to make the wrong decision and screw up like they did in a past life. And what Sensei is saying is, forget all that analysis. Just ask your gut. Is this what you're supposed to do? Okay, if it says yes, then do it. Okay, that's the next level of spiritual awareness, in my opinion, for you, Gemini. Listen to your gut. So from career karma to intuitive decisions. Cancers. Cancers had a lot of karma come up in their childhood, and their childhoods created a lot of their beliefs. So Cancers have been in this karmic rut where they have been constantly replaying their childhood in all sorts of new creative ways, and because of that, they've been stuck in their childhood beliefs. And so they're moving from this association of childhood belief to what they intuitively know is true. So basically, Cancers are being called to intuit What they sense is true and not true, and make that the source, not what mommy and daddy told you, not what your principal told you, not what your church told you, but what you intuitively sense is true. That's the next level for Cancers and Cancer risings. Leos. Leos have had lots of discretions in past lives. They have Pisces energy, and you may go, well, how do I know this? Because Chiron and Neptune just blew through there, by the way. That's how you know, because if those two planets blew through there, oh, you have karma in your past life, which means, yes, every single Leo on Earth right now has had sort of indiscretions with boundaries and trust issues. That means that Leos have gone too far, walked over people, or Leos have been abused and taken advantage of. It's actually the same story. If you were taken advantage of, that means once upon a time you were a person who took advantage of, so it's a full circle story. The point is that Leos have not been able to trust themselves, Leo risings, me included. We have not trusted ourselves because we've been afraid that we would do something wrong. So we are moving from our karmic boundary issues, which turns into intimacy issues and sex issues and all sorts of personal issues. We're moving from our karmic boundary issues to now intuitively trusting. Intuitively trusting means, do you sense anything is wrong? Do you sense you've had an improprietary, discretion? Do you sense that you've crossed a line? No. Okay, well then there's nothing to worry about. And so for Leos, it's moving from this worry to this, oh, my intuition says it'll be fine, so it will. Or my intuition says, oh, there's a problem there. And there is, okay? So Leos are from karmic boundaries to intuitive trust. Virgos, oh, this is huge. Virgos have a lot of self-hate karma. Virgos have basically born hating themselves, okay? And this is because in past lives, most of the cases of the Virgos that I read in personal readings, most of them gave their whole life away to somebody else who left them. I'm not kidding. So Virgos like sacrificed everything for somebody, and they ended up getting walked on or cheated on in the end. And so you left hating yourself. That's what ends up happening. You're like, I can't believe I let myself go through that. Even when someone really hurts you at the end of the day, you know it's your fault. You let it happen, right? So Virgos have had this self-deprecating, I hate myself karma since the day they were born, if they're alive on Earth today. And they're moving from that self-hate karma to what I call the intuitive self. What's the intuitive self? The intuitive self is, do I intuit everything is fine with me? Yeah. Okay, then I'm not going to overanalyze it. I'm not going to pick it apart. I'm not going to tear myself down here anymore because I feel in my intuition I'm okay. So it's moving out of the logic into the intuitive for your self-assessment. And that's huge. And that's the difference between an asleep Virgo and an awake Virgo, in my opinion. Libras. Libras are okay, so they have a lot of health and work karma. There's a lot of Libras who have, it's crazy, but Libras who have been taken advantage of at work and Libras who have passively, aggressively taken advantage of people at work. I know it sounds crazy, but Libras are interesting stories. We'll talk about them another time, but they tend to be in relationships really fast, and then they regret it, and they end up turning their work environment into a romantic play and all this crap. So Libras have a lot of karma with health and karma with workplace, all right? And so a lot of their overthinking has all been to be appropriate and it can go on the victim role too. Libra can be one who ends up in the Me Too movement where men have been too aggressive with them. So I'm not blaming the victim here. I'm just saying everyone has it somewhere. But the point is that Libras have been all worried about health and work and appropriateness in their day-to-day life. And now it's time to move into an intuitive day space. Intuitive day space means, do I sense this is okay? Do I sense he's a problem? Do I sense this job will take advantage of me? No, I don't, so I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to overanalyze it. I'm not going to play these games and try to manipulate to make sure I get everything that's fair, which is what the old guilty Libra would have done, okay, who is still suffering from the karma. So Libras move from health and workplace karma to intuitive daily peace. Their intuition guides them each day, each moment, and that's how they know they're okay. Scorpios, oh, this is a huge one. Scorpios have broken heart karma. Kind of like Virgos, Scorpios have busted their astro and had themselves betrayed, brokenhearted. Every Scorpio I know has a very painful, heartfelt wound where someone very close to their heart effed them, okay? And as a result, they become porcupines, and they're kind of hard to love because they're all pringy and they're afraid of being hurt. So Scorpios have not been willing to trust again in love. Even though they're in love, they still are looking at it like, I don't know, like every Scorpio I know. And so in this spiritual upgrade, you are letting go of your broken heart karma. That means you're being compassionate to yourself in your heart. Like, yes, it was hard. Yes. And, yes, it was difficult. And that's okay. A lot of Scorpios try to remain tough and not admit that they were hurt. And that just festers the wound, just so you know. So it's time for Scorpios to heal their broken heart and live with intuitive love. What's intuitive love? Do you sense that he's cheating on you? Then he is. Do you sense that she's screwing you over? Then she is. You know what I mean? Like, don't, like in the future, if your gut tells you there's a problem, listen, and your heart won't be broken. And that's it. And Scorpios do know this, but a lot of Scorpios are afraid of coming across too hard, blah, blah, blah. All of that coming across too hard is all because you're not trusting what your heart is telling you. And if you trusted what your heart was telling you, you wouldn't feel threatened a bit. So Scorpios are moving from broken heart karma to intuitive love. Sagittariuses. Sages all have karma from childhood, okay? So they're kind of similar to Cancers. Sages all have early childhood karma. Sages all have family karma. I know all sorts of Sag stories, and it's pretty common for Sag. A lot of Sages are travelers and adventurers because they come from a broken home. That's most of the case if you don't know. Sages. So a lot of Sages have a lot of broken home, my mother, my father, whatever. It all is where it starts for them. And that's true for all of us, but for Sag and Sag rising, like it's mega true. So they have to be compassionate now for whatever their wounds are and move on. And where they move on is into intuitive emotion. Intuitive emotion is, yes, that hurt me. Yes, dad was this. Yes, mom was that. But am I okay now? And if you're okay now and you intuitively feel everything's okay, then you let it go. You stop thinking about it. You stop worrying about it because intuitively everything is fine now. And that's part of what this is too in this new spiritual upgrade. It is you got to listen to the now. The now is your power. The now is your reality. Listen to the now. So for Sag, from childhood family karma to intuitive emotions. Capricorns, this is another huge one. This is a fun episode because I'm getting to say these things that I don't get to say, which is where people are screwed up. Capricorns suffer from guilt and worry complex. Okay, so Capricorns, quite often, we've all had lifetimes where we were bastards. Okay, we've all had lifetimes where we control people. Capricorns, the possibility that you were a bastard in a past life, a little higher than the average Joe. Okay, it's a little higher. And the reason is because you come from power and, like you name all the do-good organizations of the 1800s. There's not many, right? Like, so anyone who came from a past life like Capricorn, like they were born with feeling guilty. And where they have allowed this to play out has been in their head. Their head is always like, oh, I don't know. Was I too sharp? And then, of course, they get afraid in their mind that they're being taken advantage of, and that's because they have a guilty conscience of having taken advantage when they were in power, so they're assuming that someone in power would take advantage of them, blah, blah, blah. So Capricorns suffer from a lot of guilt and worry, and it's time to come out of that guilt and worry and go to an intuitive mind. What's an intuitive mind? Is there a reason right now to worry? No. Then I'm not going to. So if your intuition isn't telling you there's actually a problem right now, the house isn't on fire right now, any false evidence appearing real in your mind, dismiss. That's how you graduate. And you be compassionate to yourself, like, oh, I know I've been always hard on myself in my head, but I'm not going to anymore. And so it is. And one thing about Capricorns is they are very committed. So once you commit to this, Capricorn, you're going to rise in your power. And you're going to be an early adopter too, because Pluto is at step 20 Capricorn. So it's from guilt and worry to intuitive mind. Aquarius. Aquarius is, I don't know why, because I haven't got, Aquariuses are pretty shy. Like, they don't really let you in. They're very friendly, but they don't really let you in. They don't really tell you what's going on to anybody, okay? But what the stars show is that they have money and self-esteem karma. So there's Aquariuses who have been very, very brutal with their money, like John Hancock, if you don't know. John Hancock, the biggest signature on the Constitution, on the American Declaration of Independence. An Aquarius, if you don't know. He was a smuggler, okay? So he had tons and tons of money, and the reason why he wanted revolution of the king is because he didn't want to have to pay taxes. So, like, to some degree, there have been Aquariuses who've done very, very well because they're humanitarians and they've understood. And there's also been Aquariuses who've like done that whole I'm a pious, I am poor kind of lifetime. So in this life, anyone who's an Aquarius, they have issues with, do I deserve it or not? Do I deserve it or not? Do I deserve it or not? And they have been questioning and circling and questioning and circling. Do I deserve it? Do I deserve it? So they're moving from money and self-esteem karma to intuitive value. And the answer is, do you intuit that you deserve it? Well, then you do. Do you intuit that you don't deserve it? Then you don't. Okay? None of this analyzing with the logical mind. Did I do enough hours? Did I present myself well in the interview? Like all that crap. What's your gut say? Your gut say that you're worth it, or your gut say you're not ready yet? And going with your gut is the evolved, awake Aquarius when it comes to values and money. And then finally, Pisces. Here we are, Pisces. Happy birthday, by the way, my friend. Love me, my Pisces. Pisces are going through a major shift. So if you don't know, Pisces actually change clothes like 4 times in their lifetime. They have like 4 lifetimes in one. And whenever you incarnate as a Pisces, it's because you are shifting millennias. So you're going, okay, I just did 100 lives where I was taken advantage of or I took advantage of people. Now I'm going to do 100 lives where I'm a savior or I am, starving. So Pisces have these big millennia shifts, okay? And when you're a Pisces, you have to actually live all your millennia as a separate life. So you have a millennia, a millennia, a millennia, and then at the end of your lifetime as a Pisces, you're finally ready for what you showed up for, the new millennia, okay? So this is one of the moments where all Pisces, doesn't matter what age they are, so if you're a 7-year-old Pisces, then the first 7 years was 1 year millennia. It all kind of ages out, but this is a millennia change for the Pisces. They are going from one story to the next. And let me tell you, you may not recognize a Pisces when they're done, and hug your local Pisces, they may not be there soon. That's the other thing that happens is Pisces like, I'm off to new millennia, and they're gone. It's the last time you see them except for your class reunion at age 50. So Pisces are going through millennia change. It has to do with releasing their behavioral karma. So Pisces, according to the planets, misbehaved in one of their past millennia. Of course you did. That's all part of the learning path. So Pisces have all had all sorts of behavioral issues. Crossing lines, not crossing lines, speaking up, not being there, not being there. Name a person, they know a Pisces that pissed them off. You know what I mean? So Pisces are getting rid of behavior karma. They're releasing behavior karma, which is, oh, I shoulda, woulda, coulda, all that sort of stuff and that sort of second guessing. And they're moving to intuitive behavior. So the Pisces that switch millennia will switch because they intuit it's time to change. They intuit a different way to respond. They intuit that they should or shouldn't say this. And instead of getting this huge conversation in their brain about, are they doing right? Is this the coast? They instead, they're just I sense to do this and so I will. So the Pisces that wake up will go based on, action will be based on what they sense. They will use the force, to quote Yoda, who is probably a Pisces, they will use the force to determine if they should do something, if they shouldn't. If they don't use the force, then they're not ready to change millennia yet. You got one more round here coming. So as you can hear, it's going to be a weird week. And what I want to just stress for the last time is, what gets you out of this stuff? Self-compassion. Self-compassion is, it's okay that I'm here again. It's okay that I flunked again. It's okay I was late again. It was okay. It's okay. I'm going to stop punishing myself for this behavior because all I'm doing is punishing myself and I'm not getting anywhere, right? And that is what I think will separate the asleep from the awake in this 2018 cycle. And I think you are ready to be awake if you're watching this show. That's God honest. All right, friend. Well, a couple of announcements. Woo, don't go just yet. For one, I have put on sale my Countdown to 2008. This was a 3-hour seminar that goes through all 12 signs, just like I just did, for the entire year of 2018. And let me tell you, the solar eclipse we had last week was just the beginning. The universe is going to screw with us on such a high level this year. I haven't seen this much astrology in my entire astrological career, to be honest. As far as real profound change, as you're going to feel this week. So, if you don't know, you can now download this puppy. It's a 3-hour video. I also send a spreadsheet that has all in Excel or numbers if you're Mac or PC. I mean, I thought of everything on this one. And you will have the whole spreadsheet for all 12 signs for all year. It was $49.95. We're now on sale for $34.95. Pick it up while supplies of Wateki last. Then, I want to tell you about a new feature on Serious Joy. I have been working on this feature for 3 months or so, writing my heart out. It's called Soul Biography. So now in Serious Joy Sensei service, if you are a member, you'll have access to your soul biography. Your soul biography will tell you about your sun sign, your rising sign, your north node, your moon. I go into the step numbers that these things are. I go into the explanation of the step numbers. I talk about when you're sensitive, and it has an introduction. And I have more features coming down the pipe. So if you have not tried my personal Sensei service, then you're not trying. That's all I got to say. You can try for $3.99 for the first month. Give it a try. See if it sticks. Come to SeriousJoy.com. And then lastly, an invitation to rub elbows with other people seeking enlightenment. Come to our NamasteToday.club. This is a Facebook club. It's a way to get to know each other. And I got to say, clubs are not so much affected by the new news feed. So if you really want to like stay in touch with your friends now with the way Facebook has been re-algorithmed, you need to be in a club. You need to be in a group. That's the only way they're grouped together. So if you'd like to be part of our group, we'd love to have you. Come on down to NamasteToday.club. All right, friend, that's all I have for this wonderful, wacky, perfect stellium week. Have a wonderful week. Be self-compassionate to yourself. And remember, I love you. Live, love, be.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.